much, and this is a very, very big subject, and we have not much time, but we can hit some highlights. And I'll begin with invoking the presence of our gurus to join us this morning. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, great masters of self-realization, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Sri Yukteswar, and great master Paramhansa Yogananda. Join us this evening for this healing session. Help us to awaken that cosmic vitality within ourselves, that we might share that, thy love, thy joy, thy healing energy with all souls. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Again, welcome everybody, and for our regular healing Sangha. And this evening, I wanted to share a few words about the topic of breath. And of course, I remember something that Swami Kriyananda said many years ago, and he's written it down too. And he said, the science of breath, the science of breath, and by implication also the science of inner energy and prana, is India's unique contribution to the world's body of knowledge. And it's the deep, people think, well, we breathe. Of course, there's oxygen coming into the body and out of the body, but there's a much deeper potential behind that and much deeper understanding. And uh, for our own spiritual development, but here we're talking about healing on all levels, not just the spiritual. We're also speaking mind, body, emotions. For the improvement of that health, the gaining of awareness of the breath, and not just the physical breath, but the life force that's behind that breath. If we can learn to become aware of that and actually be able to control that for our own health, it's important, of course, but also for the application toward healing prayers. This is also really quite significant, because when we're sending healing energy out, what are we doing? We're sending that vibration out, and to the degree that we have an awareness of the vitality, we have an awareness of the prana that's flowing within us, we can actually project that. We can project that vibration. We can project that energy out to other people. In other words, our energy that we have within ourselves, awareness of that life force, that vitality within ourselves, you can actually, it's magnetic, and it can be extended out to help other people. And you know this from practical experience. You're around a physically, just on the physical level, a physically energetic person, it makes you awake and ready too. And you take on that magnetism, and you put yourself in relationship with somebody who has, on a deeper level of that energy, that spiritual magnetism. You can feel that too in their presence. But we know, because we practice these techniques, that this can also be projected outward, and we have tools to be able to make us aware of that energy and how to project it and to increase it. But to control anything, it begins with awareness. And we can learn to be aware of that life force that we're speaking is behind the prana. You see, has the prana refers to physical breath, but it also refers to that life force behind the breath that are inextricably linked very deeply. And we gain control or an awareness of one, we end up gaining control and awareness of the others. But in this, what we do here every week is we're using it in a specific application toward prayer, for healing, and projecting that. And very in simplistic terms, you could say our job is to help people heal. Of course, they say, physician, heal thyself. We have to first. And so to the degree that we can heal ourselves, we can then be more effective in actually being helpful to others. Now, we have to understand, we, or a doctor, or we cannot heal others. In the fact, you could say that maybe we can't even heal ourselves. It's the life force within the body, God's energy within the body, because this prana life force, energy, is not inert. It's endowed with intelligence. And so keep that in mind. The life force within us that we're awakening, it's the life force that heals. It's the life force that heals us. It's the life force that heals others. And our job is to awaken that life force within ourselves, and by extension be able to try to that awakened life force, share that awakened life force with others. And so when we pray for others, you could say that we're trying to help awaken the life force, the prana, the energy, the vitality in other people through our prayers. And it's just not only mental affirmation and hoping while God takes care of the rest. There's a reality to it that we can increase that flow through our own efforts, because we have certain tools within ourselves to be able to affect that vitality, to affect that awareness uh, within ourselves. So remember, a healthy body knows how to heal itself if you let it, and if we can awaken that conscious life force within ourselves. And same thing, a doctor doesn't heal you, they heals through awakening the life force through various uh, modalities, you might say. And disease is a blockage or a weakening or a disruption of that flow of intelligent life force in our body. So we have tools, as I said, and you all know that this would take a very long lecture to really go into this any depth. But I'm assuming you know these tools already, but that we have tools, two particularly. The first tool is the use of the will. The greater the will, the greater the force of the flow of energy within the body, the greater the flow of prana. And we're going to set that aside. We won't go into that today, but that's the basis, the energization exercise. But the second tool we have that is related to this is the breath. Now we all breathe. Well, I guess you could say maybe the advanced yogi breathes, but perhaps go beyond breath even. And of course, when we're speaking about self-realization, this is the direction that we're wanting to go. But anything that helps us, that can help us, make us breath aware of the physical breath, is helpful, because to the degree that we start to tune in to the physical breath, behind that breath, because there's a link between the physical breath and the flow of the life force which animates that physical breath. And so if we want to become aware of the life force, which is at the basis of healing, the basis of vitality, the breath, being aware of the breath, helps us. And just simply watching the breath, being aware of the breath, and we know the other techniques of Hong Sa and other techniques to help us, various pranayama exercises that can help us do that. But whatever, if we can learn to become aware, from that awareness, we can then begin to control and influence, and we can begin to strengthen the breath. And it comes down to everything in the, you could say, in the paths of yoga, comes down to these two thoughts: awareness and control. And awareness always precedes control. So, and we often hear in common language when a person is all upset and things are going wrong and they're all frazzled, say, just breathe. You can bring yourself back to that state of centeredness and good health. You could say, again, repeating, results from a strong, unobstructed flow of life force in all areas of the body. And we apply that in all levels: health, physical, mental, emotional, and ultimately spiritual. But I want to just, in the time allowed for us today, just a few things to think about, to practice, that we can practice. Deep breathing, learn to pay attention and learn to deep breathe, and incorporate it in everyday life is learning to deep breathe deeply, to fill the body with yes, air, oxygen, but behind that, the vitality that is incorporated in the air that we breathe. So deep, for a yogi and for one who wants to be effective in self-healing, and thereby, by extension, effective in helping others by projecting that health and through our prayers, learn to breathe and awaken that vitality within ourselves, then we have something meaningful to share. So pay attention to the breath. Now, obviously, we need to learn to breathe deeply and fully. Most people, they just breathe out of the top of their chest, perhaps. They don't really breathe, diaphragmatically. And we know about diaphragmatic breathing. This is basics of we when we come onto the spiritual path, yogic path. It's something we learn from the very beginning. But check yourself. Make sure you're breathing deeply so that when you breathe, you're completely filling the lungs and the abdomen, the whole diaphragm is expanding. And you'll find just by doing that, you're going to be able to magnetize and become vital. Just learning to breathe deeply and, just even count breathing, regulated breathing. Now, I found, and I'd like to share this because I found I've done this, I would say my whole life, but it's really not when I was a kid. But when I first came onto the yogic path, I began to incorporate this I can't say I do this every day, but it's in the background of something I do when I go for walk. I like to walk, and like I walk over here to this studio early in the morning. It's half a kilometer, maybe a kilometer away. And as I walk, or recreationally, I do this walking, breathing exercises. I take 4 paces and I use my pace for my count. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I inhale. I hold the breath 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I exhale 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I hold the breath out 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the number of counts is up to you. It could be 2 counts, it could be 6 counts. And of course, the speed at which you're walking also can affect that. But you find some pattern that helps you to do it. Now, I have to say that as I start to get tired, instead of 6, 6, 6, or 4, 4, 4, 4, I end up eliminating holding the breath out. I can't do it after you, and then I know I've you could say I've gotten tired. But when I do, then I just do 4, 4, 4, and I don't hold it out. But see, practice that, and sometimes I'll go for maybe, let's say, 10 minutes, while 5 or 10 minutes walking that way, and it vitalizes me. Uh, and it's a practice. I just have done it for fun pretty much my whole life, or my spiritual life, since I've been an adult. And it's very helpful, and it vitalizes and brings in you. And the goal here is, yes, for physical health, but the goal is to try to understand that there's vitality of the life forces behind the breath, because that's what we're really after. We're not just trying to have deep breathing, but we're trying to become aware. And it's from the awareness of life force through deep breathing that we're able then to project that. Master called this an oxygen diet. And that you could sort of say, he says, and ultimately there comes the point when we can learn to take in life force through the breath, we don't need to use other means quite so much. And you could sort of say we just breath. What is that? There's that term breatharian. You can live on breath alone. Well, I don't know about that, but it's certainly something to think about. Is that such a thing possible? Now, why this is particularly important, learning to breathe deeply. And if you have other pranayama breathing exercises you want to substitute, do those. But the whole idea here is to incorporate breath exercises into our daily routine in some fashion for our personal good health, but then learning through that to realize it's not by food or outward forms that we live. We live by the uh, the prana that comes into the body, of which the breath is but one manifestation. And ultimately, of course, from the spiritual perspective of the yogi, we get to the point where we can cut the cord of breath, because that's what we're after. Now, we're speaking about healing prayers and projecting them in this Sangha every week. But on the larger goal, it's important to understand. And and I want to read a quote here just in conclusion, then we'll go on with our prayers. Paramhansa Yogananda said here somewhere, uh, without properly regulating the breath and solving its mystery by doing away with it, one cannot reach high self-realization. If you can do without breath, you can control bodily life, prolong it, and rise beyond it to soul while living. To do without breath is not to force or suppress it in the lungs. To watch the breath is the preliminary step in controlling it. Because when the consciousness of man separates itself from the involuntarily bodily function of breathing and gradually realizes itself as distinct from it, breath is the cord that binds the soul to the body. Man lives in and requires the atmosphere of air just as a fish needs water. When he learns to rise above breath, man ascends into the celestial realms of the angels. Now, I'd like us to practice a little exercise here as we can send breath, not to send breath, send prana, send life force out to other souls. So let's universally, let's apply this principle of being aware of the breath, aware of vitality, stimulating that vitality, and then in our prayers, sending that vitality magnetically out to others. But awareness, remember, if we want to be aware of that energy, and then we're more effective in being able to project it. So let's begin first. But I'd like you to, if you have a bare forearm, let's say I get my arm in the camera here, uh, rub the forearm and just the bare arm if you can. If you can't, you can rub through your clothing. But if you rub the forearms like this and try to stimulate, the energy in the forearm, and then do the other arm as well if you can. Is just rub the forearm and try to stimulate that energy in the forearm. Now rub the hands together and try to stimulate that energy in the hands and in the arms, and then you see, now stop and then feel. You feel that? Feel that energy in the body coming closer, and feel that little magnetism between the hands. That's what, if you can do this before you send these prayers out of sending life force, it makes it more dynamic to our awareness, but also it has a positive effect on our repairs as well. Then, as we visualize an individual, perhaps we visualize a group, we're sending that life force, that magnetic current, and the current is conscious energy. Energy is conscious intelligence, and the energy knows how to heal. We don't have to be specific of heal the liver or heal the person's mental capacity in this way or that. Just we surround them with that life force and the love from our heart. So let's now do this more consciously. Again, rub the arms, both sides, and rubbing our hands together, and then let us pray. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art within all souls. Manifest thy healing energy in all these bodies, minds, and souls as thy children. They are thy children. And visualize throughout the world, or some individual group of souls, the world at large. Feel in your hands that life force. Feel it going out to others, projecting it out from the spiritual eye. As we raise our hands, let us chant Om together. Om. 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 Now, even better, in your own practice of that, start off with some deep breathing. And and inhaling, magnetizing and tensing the whole body, throwing the air out, double breath. And you bring that and then do this. when you have a little bit more time, you can focus your energy in this way and vitalize the body as you feel, as you're holding the breath and tensing the body. Just feel that vitality just vibrating within you. And then with that energy of positivity, affirmative, sending that out, God's blessings is going out. In this way, we make it more effective. But remember, awareness precedes control. We need to have both of that. Awareness precedes control. Try to be aware just in the day as you're acting, that life force is acting through you. And then watch the breath and incorporate that into your daily sadhana routine. God bless.